Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the Orient Kamasu. It's a watch that's no stranger to the affordable watch space. It's a successor to Orient's popular Mako and Ray line of dive watches that were very well known for the value they represented over the past couple of years. Now, Orient released the Orient Kamasu in 2019 and it took that successful formula of the Mako and Ray line of watches, made some upgrades, and made it an even more tempting value proposition to the consumer. Now, many have reviewed this watch, many have owned this watch, and it's commonly known as the best diver around the $200 mark. And it's also been dubbed the real Seiko SKX replacement. We'll spend some time today to see if those are accurate and if this is the go-to dive watch around $200. The Orient Kamasu comes in a couple of colors, but the most popular ones are red and teal. I could never find those in stock, so I ended up buying the blue version instead. First, let's start with the packaging. This watch comes in a black faux leather looking cardboard box. It's different from past Orient boxes I've had, where there's normally a metal plate up top with the Orient logo engraved. Inside the box you have a manual that has some warranty information, along with a plastic hang tag and a plush pillow that the watch came on. It's not really the best packaging out there, but I'm not really paying for packaging at this price point. Now, onto the watch itself, and let's cover some dimensions. This watch comes in a 41.5mm case. It's 47mm from lug to lug. It has a 22mm lug width. It's 13mm thick, and on the supplied stainless steel bracelet, it comes in at around 150 grams. Here's what the watch looks like on my 6.5-inch wrist. It fits great and it feels really comfortable while wearing. It has a nice balance to it when it's on wrist. The Orient Kamasu comes in a stainless steel case that's almost entirely polished, except for some brushing at the top of the lugs. The case shape itself is nothing to write home about. It has a no-frills side profile and it curves down slightly at the lugs, allowing it to hug your wrist better. The lines that separate the brushed and polished finishes are not that defined, but it's there. It has a flat sapphire crystal, which is a huge plus at this price point, especially from an established watch brand. It sits slightly below the bezel, and while there is no AR coating on the crystal, it does seem to have some good clarity to it. Now, under that crystal is a beautiful blue dial. It has a very deep blue tone to it that looks close to black in certain lighting conditions. The dial gives off a subtle sunburst effect that does not look too overpowering. It has some texture to it and it plays really nice with the light. Under the 12 o'clock hour marker, you'll find an applied Orient logo with the brand name and automatic printed below it. At the bottom of the dial, you'll find the words water resist and 200 bar, indicating this watch is 200 meter water resistance rating. Now, the indices on this piece are applied angle rectangles that narrow down towards the center of the dial. At the 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock position, you'll find regular rectangles, and at the 12 o'clock hour marker, it's more of a triangle. This combination of shapes make it very easy with orientation and telling the time. The indices look very cleanly finished. They're also filled with a deep application of Orient's Lume formula, which makes the indices very legible in most lighting conditions. There's a frame cut out for the day date at the 3 o'clock position. Now, the handset is one of my favorite features of this watch. The arrow hour hand and sword style minute hand are polished and nicely proportioned. They are filled with the same thick application of lume that's on the indices. The seconds hand has a red arrow tip which is also filled with lume. The minute and seconds hand reach all the way out to the minute track at the edge of the dial, making telling the exact time very easy. The bezel is a 120-click dive time bezel with an aluminum insert. The bezel has fairly good grip to it, which makes it very easy to rotate. The bezel action on this feels really good. There's a nice click throughout and barely any backplay. It also lines up perfectly at the 12 o'clock position. It's a similar feel to the bezel on the Seiko SKX, but it's not as mushy. I enjoyed rotating it every time I had to use it, which was mostly as a timer when I'm boiling eggs or making coffee. The printing on the bezel looks nicely done with minute markers all around, and it features a lume pip at the 12 o'clock position. The lume on the Orient Kamasu is subtly amazing. The application of lume is very deep and that makes it grow so strong and evenly. The hands grow slightly stronger than the indices, but they all last long throughout the night. The Kamasu also has a side screw-down crown with the Orient logo etched onto it. The crown is covered by crown guards that protect it from accidental knocks that may damage the movement. The crown is probably the part of this watch I dislike the most, so I'll save my thoughts for the dislike section later. Now, once the crown is unscrewed, you can hand wind the watch. Pulling it out one click allows you to adjust the day and date. Pulling it out to the last position hacks the second hand. allowing you to set the time. On the back of the case, you'll find a screw-down caseback. It features an etched image of two dolphins swimming around each other and the usual set of spec sheets all around it. The movement powering this watch is the in-house Orient Calibre F6922. It's a reliable movement that comes with hacking and hand-winding functions. It beats at 21,600 BPH, has 22 jewels, and it comes with a 40-hour power reserve. I was actually pretty impressed with this movement. It averaged at 12 seconds per day, but displayed very good positional accuracy. Lastly, let's look at the bracelet. It has hollow end links and features a 3-link oyster style that's brushed on top and polished on the sides. It's actually a single link that's made to look like a 3-link. I'm not so sure if the links are solid or folded, but I'm guessing it's the latter just by the way it feels and weighs. This bracelet features a split pin system for removing the links while you want to adjust it. The clasp is a thin stamped piece of metal with the Orient logo on top of it, and it features a double push release with a safety lock. It also comes with 4 micro adjustment slots to make it easy to fine-tune the fit you need. Now that we've gotten all those out of the way, let me talk to you about what I like about the watch. Number 1, the looks. I absolutely love the way this watch looks. The dial proportions and the elements within all work really well with each other. Everything from the well-finished applied indices, the handset shape, to the gorgeous blue color with the small pops of red on the Orient logo and seconds hand just make this a very nice watch to look at. Sometimes I forget that I'm staring at a $200 watch when I look at the dial. It's just that good looking to me. Second thing I like about this watch is the bezel. The bezel action on the Kamasu is one of my favorites. Now, I've found myself fiddling with it a bit more than other bezels on my other divers, and I guess it's probably because it has a very nice tactile feel to it. Next, I also like the legibility of this watch. Sometimes we forget the main function of the watch, and that's to tell the time. Now, there's something about the Orient Kamasu that makes its job of telling the time work extremely well. The shape and proportions of all the time-telling elements on the dial, like the hands, indices, minute track, everything just works really well and it makes it a breeze to tell the time. Lastly, I have to talk about value. I got this watch for around $170. Now below the $200 mark, there's really no other option from an established brand that comes close to the specs and value the Kamasu provides. Of course, you can easily get better specs if you go with an AliExpress brand, but that's not an option many people will go with. The majority of people would trust an established brand, such as Orient, when it comes to making a safe purchase. Now, what are the elements of the watch that I don't like? I find that there's very little dimensionality to the fit and finish. The polished surfaces look unclear and uneven, as can be seen from some reflections on the side of the case. The lines throughout the case are not defined enough, and you don't really have a clean visual distinction between the different finishes. Looking at the finishes up close, it kind of makes you remember the price you actually paid for this watch. Next up, the bracelet and clasp. And oh my god, the bracelet. The end links are hollow and they do not fit to the case at all. They're loose and have a lot of play. This is what it sounds like. The bracelet does not taper and retains its 22mm width throughout, making it feel very chunky on the wrist. The clasp also feels very thin because it's made out of stem metal. Personally, I think it would have been better if they went with a 20mm lug width to make it better proportion and make the watch look sleeker and wear more comfortable. Lastly, and this is probably the part of the watch I dislike the most, is the crown. It's very hard to grip, it's too small and is blocked by the crown guards. There's no grip because of the polished finish, and that makes it almost impossible to screw down completely if your hands and the crown aren't entirely dry. Now, in a humid climate like Asia, sweaty fingers are the norm, and operating the crown is a nightmare. The crown also feels wobbly when it's pulled all the way out. It doesn't inspire confidence and it feels like it may break apart from the stem if it's pulled too hard or handled a bit roughly. Now, I personally found this very annoying and it made the entire experience of owning the watch much less enjoyable. Now, to sum up, what do I think about the Orient Kamasu? If you're in the market for your first proper dive watch and you want something that's going to look good in both dressy and casual occasions, I think the Orient Kamasu is a great choice. It's much more versatile than some other tool watch divers, and it also gives you a very good peace of mind knowing that it has 200 meters water resistance rating and it can take abuse if it's subjected to harsher conditions. Orient has really put themselves in a position of strength here by giving us a watch that does almost everything right at such a great price point. Of course, there are minor things that they can improve, like the crown and the bracelet. If they manage to improve those aspects while keeping the prices around the same price point, I think they'll easily dominate the entry-level diver market. You'd be hard-pressed to find another watch by a major brand that offers the same value that this one does. If you're considering this as an alternative to the now discontinued Seiko SKX, I'd say go for it. Objectively, this Orient is better in almost every way. I can safely say that this is definitely the new go-to entry-level diver below $200. And it's easy to see why everyone else thinks so too. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this review. If you liked it, please don't forget to like and comment. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. It means the world to me. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.